Can Xenna bring you some real profits? And if so, how much time do you need to spend playing daily? Okay, if you are an experienced Xenna player, you may have noticed that quantity does not always mean quality. Well, I'm talking about the situation where you have fewer robots than your opponents, but you still snatch that victory. Yeah, it's a nice feeling, right guys? So let's call it like mind games, confusing your opponent with your actions to gain an advantage. And if you're a beginner and don't know the tricks, get ready to listen, because we know most of them. Let's imagine you are a complete newbie, so why do you even need those tricky things? Well, the answer is quite simple. You just won't succeed in tournaments without getting a little, well, bitchy. Well, veterans know what I'm saying. And believe me, you want to participate in tournaments because they are fun. I'm not complaining about the normal mode against less challenging bots, but if you're looking for an adrenaline rush, tournaments are the way to go. And yeah, actually, it's not just about the adrenaline. There are valuable rewards like robot parts that you can trade for cash in the future. Besides, the new Hermes Challenge tournament has just started with 100 legendary XLR Hermes robots up for grabs. And this sounds super exciting. Of course, guys, we'll release a dedicated video for the tournament. Just give us some time, right? In the meantime, just check out our previous guide on how you can triple all your Xenna rewards. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. Well, sorry experienced players, but I'll be discussing like both obvious and advanced tricks you can use to succeed. So shall we start with something light? Okay, it's not the most common strategy you'll encounter in tournaments, but there are always one or two players who choose gravity traps or mines as their primary ability. So how should you respond? Well, plan your routes to avoid these hazards. Yeah, it might sound obvious, but both mines and traps are visible. So take a bit longer to draw a precise route. Because believe me, traps deal too much damage to take lightly, just like mines. But still, if you are all about mines, just send a small cohort running around your tower to place as many mines as possible. Okay, this is my favorite trick. Imagine a situation where you have a numerical advantage in robots and you want to capture the enemy's tower. However, losing too much fighters could be, well, problematic against another opponent. So, how about intimidating the initial opponent with your numbers? Just draw around toward the opponent's tower, but halfway there, turn the cohort back to your tower. Yeah, this tests the enemy's determination to defend. They might just surrender the tower. Then you can repeat the route all the way to the end and claim the tower just for free. However, if the opponent decides to stay and defend the tower, they'll likely move cohorts away from other areas, giving you an opening to attack. The key here is not to rush and to react to the enemy's actions. And yeah, perhaps you have even better ideas. I'd love to hear them all. Well, to my surprise, not all players use this trick. If you've reached the generation limit, like 20 robots in a tower, and have no room for your cohort, just draw a short route that leads you back to the tower. While your robot is circling around, you'll gain like what? 2 or 3 additional units. So keep doing this and you can significantly increase your army. Besides, this strategy is particularly useful in the final game when the remaining players usually have no more than just one tower each. If you're thinking I'm about to talk about some Sandstorm Lord's ability, just don't be naive, it's useless still. Instead, let's discuss more serious matter: tactics for the final phase. I understand that the initial instinct when a sandstorm approaches is to head straight for the center, but that can be a fatal mistake. If you have fewer robots than your opponents, you can't risk going to the center. They'll just obliterate you and you won't score that much needed damage points. Instead, chart a longer route throughout mountains or water within the final zone, but farther away from the center. This will help you preserve more of your troops, and the likelihood of encountering with a superior opponent is significantly reduced. Alternatively, you can opt to plunge directly into the sandstorm, shielding yourself while sacrificing a small amount of damage. Okay, picture this. Only a handful of robots remain in your tower, and a seizable enemy cohort is closing in. And yet, your reinforcements are far, far away. So, should you just surrender the tower without a fight? Well, absolutely not. Instead, employ the following tactic. Start by sending one robot toward the opponent, and simultaneously dispatch your reinforcements. Even a lone robot can effectively stall the enemy, buying you those precious extra seconds. What's the defining trait of Warp Ambush? Well, you guessed it, concealing your troop count, which can be a fantastic surprise for your adversaries. Select one ambush for troop accumulation. Even if you're using the silent facility, resist the urge to tamper with this ambush. Let it remain an unexpected element for your opponents. Well, true, they might gouge numbers by observing the player count overhead, but in the heat of the battle, a thorough analysis isn't always feasible, and an empty warp ambush appears exceedingly tempting. However, seasoned player won't commit their entire army to blindly checking the warp ambush. A single robot is quite enough to unveil your ploy. And if capturing an ambush is your objective, consider dispatching multiple troops to engage the opponent's cohort within the ambush. That way, they won't hold any advantageous ground. Okay, I'm not particularly fond of this tactic, but sometimes circumstances force your hand to backstab a formidable player while they are engaged with another foe. This crafty maneuver addresses three issues simultaneously: eliminating a potential rival, safeguarding yourself, and bolstering your odds of triumph. And remember, in the world of winners, the means are less scrutinized. Quite often, even with a substantial army, you might need to vacate the tower due to an even more imposing opponent force. In such scenarios, don't flee without delivering a partial blow. Initiate your route planning in advance, but allow your robots to land one final shot before evacuating the tower. This way, you not only inflict damage, but also conserve troops, a potential game changer in the late stages. Well, no shortcuts, only top-tier advice. I only hope you can seamlessly integrate these strategies into your tactics, well, if you haven't already. And yeah, regarding the time spent playing Xenna, well, dedicating about an hour each day to the game should suffice to secure prize points in tournaments and acquire valuable robot parts. That's where these tricks come into play. Now, after all that remains is to anticipate the launch of the marketplace.